Very good morning. Uh, Thank you very much to the organizers, especially Shifali, Jagannath. It's really an honor to be here. And as some people were mentioning yesterday, I find Coimbatore is a very welcoming city. I've really felt at home here. And many people did ask me, so you must have been to Wellington. Well, I have been to Wellington not once, not twice, but three times because I not only came to study as a military student in Wellington, I was first a child studying here because my father was a military student. So, and third time I got my children to study in Lovedale, so I came as a parent. So I've been here as a child, as a military student, and as a parent. But it was always passing through Coimbatore, but this time I'm here and really happy to be here. And I'm here with this topic. Uh, as an author, it has been an author's journey. I happen to have done some work on the Pathankot Operation 2016, and I am now in the process of writing a book on the 2025 event, including Operation Sindoor. So that is what brings me here as an author. And as I was mentioning, I earlier wrote the story about the Pathankot attack. This is a graphic novel. I have put it outside. I will talk about this today. And as we go along, I am now in the process of writing a book on Operation Sindoor. There are four of us, as mentioned here. One is an air marshal. He's looking at the air and nuclear. I have a diplomat, Ambassador Trigunath, and an Army AD officer, Brigadier Bhargav. So four of us are bringing you this new production, Red Lines Redrawn. India's Operation Sindoor and the New Normal. This is not the cover. This is just a flyer. The cover is yet to be designed. So that is what brings me here. So in the evening yesterday, General Khandare gave you a long background of what has been happening in the subcontinent, particularly in the India-Pakistan context. So in my book, I am more focusing on post-89, when the Kashmir issue began. And you know the parliament attack, you know Akshardham, you know Mumbai 2008, and as I mentioned, Pathankot 2016 is the one for which we had the NSG operation, and this tome came out, the graphic novel. What was again mentioned in yesterday's talk, just before the Pathankot attack. Now, just to recap, what happened in Pathankot in January 2016 was a terrorist attack on the air station. We had foreign aircraft, we had some just a few technicians from various countries. It was a very important strategic base at the time. The aim of the terrorists was to cause major damage to the airbase. When the NSG operation took place, we were able to stop the entire plan of the terrorists. But while this was being planned, we had a new government. We had PM Modi. He was on his way back from Afghanistan, and he did an outreach in December 15, 25th December, as was being mentioned yesterday. And just while he was doing this new outreach to try and bring peace into the subcontinent, this diabolical plan was being hatched to attack the Pathankot airbase. And thereafter, as I mentioned, what you're seeing here is an article in The Week magazine where the making of this whole story was covered. And what I'm holding in my hand is, of course, the same graphic novel. Now, to give you a small feel about what is in this comic, I'm not going to open it, but using a few stills from this, we have made a small video. Very short one. Sound, please. I'll play it again. Yes.
In the early hours of 1st Jan 2016, the Energy Counter-Terrorist Task Force was briefed about the situation in Pathankot. They geared up, readied the equipment, and were in full form to respond to the call of duty. NSG drones and the IAF Mi-35 helicopters successfully located the terrorists and the counter-terrorist operations were launched. The effective tactics adopted by the task force inflicted heavy casualties on the terrorists. This was the time when Braveheart, Lieutenant Colonel Niranjan and his bomb technicians were set in motion. The elite bomb disposal squad of the Black Cat commandos who put their lives on the line every day, the people who walked towards the bomb. The challenge was to neutralize unexploded grenades spread across the thick foliage area. All the intricate and exacting procedures were followed by Lieutenant Colonel Niranjan with utmost skill and patience. He effectively neutralized the booby trap IEDs attached to two of the bodies. While defusing the IED on the body of the third terrorist, a concealed booby trap grenade got activated. Niranjan signaled to his team to step back and bore the brunt of the explosion. He sustained severe multiple injuries which led to his martyrdom while protecting the rest of his team. For his gallant act and exemplary leadership skills, Lieutenant Colonel Niranjan was awarded with the Shaurya Chakra and cremated with full military honors.
So the story of the operation, as well as this Braveheart, who is from south, from Bangalore, and he laid down his life in this operation. The story is brought about in this particular comic, which I have made. But the question is, how did I come to write this whole story? So I will explain that. I was myself in the NSG in 2016. I was there at the IG training. And when this debacle took place, I will not say debacle, I mean, for us, I am myself from the Corps of Engineers. Losing an officer is a big thing. So when this happened, at the same time, we were making a new auditorium in the NSG campus. And that happens to be named Niranjan, because I had taken up this case, because since this was a new operation, and we were actually in the process of naming some of our assets with the names of some of our martyrs of NSG. So it was a question of thing happening at a time and place, and so this is what the Niranjan Auditorium came about. Now when the inauguration happened, I had made a request that the family of Niranjan should be there for the inauguration. So that is what happened. Minister Rajwardhan Rathore came to inaugurate. And what you're seeing behind me with a blue cap is an Air Force officer, Sharath, who is the real brother of Niranjan. And of course, his parents are in front. There is a bust of the martyr I have put inside. And during the function, inside, we presented a photo of Niranjan Auditorium to the parents. So with this interaction with the parents which was happening, I got inspired and I said, I must bring the story to the world. And that is how the making of this story. And as I was discussing with the compeers yesterday and today, when an author writes, and in fact Shefali madam was being spoken about, it is a form of seva. I mean, I am not writing it for myself. I am writing it for you and for the people, to bring to the world a story. So that is what an author does. So that is, so much about 2016 operation. And little did we know that a few months later would be Uri 2016. It was thereafter followed by the surgical strikes, which was, mentioned yesterday by General Khandare. There were a couple of more things which happened soon thereafter, much smaller ones, no less painful, Nagrota 16, Sanjuvan 18. All the incidents are covered in my book, incidentally, in very brief form, just to give the background. And then, as was mentioned, Pulwama 2019, after which we did the Balakot strikes. Now we had almost 6 years of comparative lower key action till 2025. Yes, in 2017 and once, 2023 and 24, there were small attacks at Riyasi and one more for the Amarnath pilgrims. But only 2 cases of pilgrim attacks, smaller ones, were there. There was no other major operation till 2025 Pahalgam. And we know we lost 26 innocent lives. And these visuals are known to you. And thereafter, I had got into the process of writing a book on it. But I would like to explain here, and which is explained in my book, with the permission of the authorities. I've had a number of meetings. We are now into a new military doctrine, whereas earlier we had a policy of deterrence by denial. There are various ways you can deter. So I am very strong. I build a lot of muscles and I stand. So just by looking at me, I hope nobody will attack me. So this is deterrence by denial, because I am strong. But that may not be good enough. Somebody may still come and poke you from behind and you don't know. So we had this policy for long, it was defensive. 16 onwards, we have shifted to a policy of punitive deterrence. You harm me and I will harm you. If it is a small prick, I will give you a small prick, but you will not get away. So it is a new policy which we have. Prior to this, we had the Sundarji Doctrine. I will talk about it. And a little later, we had the Cold Start Doctrine. You may not be knowing too much about it, but I will just very, very briefly explain that for a long time, we had the Sundarji Doctrine, where we spoke about using very big military formations which will make deep thrusts into Pakistan. We were capable of doing 3, but we would hold 1 back and launch with 2 and keep 1 in reserve, waiting for any action from the Pakistani side. But our thrusts would be strong and deep. That was the basic concept. But from 2004 onwards, we decided to change for a number of reasons, which General Vijay mentioned in his book. Instead of having 1 or 2 very deep thrusts, we would have multiple shallow thrusts. I will explain why it happened so. But first, the Sundarji Doctrine was explained, as I explained. We had a very strong defensive posture, for which there were 7 corps, and 2 to 3 strike corps would be held back, and these would be brought forward to unleash the lethal punch. The problem was that it would take over 2 to 3 weeks to deploy this major punch, because they were held back in central India. They would take time to reach, and by the time they reach in the emerging satellite environment, they would be picked up. So that was one of the problems with them. The second problem was that the strong defensive line which we had on the border, that strong defensive line did not have its inherent offensive capability. The defensive line was only defensive. So if you say today something has happened, tomorrow you launch cold start, it was not possible. Because our defensive line was only defensive in nature, it did not have any inherent offensive capability. So these are the number of reasons why we had to change. So as I was mentioning, we went in for the cold start offensive, where we said we will have 8 to 10 limited ones, capture 10 to 15 kilometers of territory, and remaining within the nuclear threshold. Why is this important? Because nuclear happened now, in between. It came in 98. So only after that, you are facing a nuclear problem. If you go too deep, you are likely to have a nuclear response. So you don't want to trigger a nuclear response. So this is what the problem was. As I mentioned in General Vijay's book, which is there in front of you, this has also come out this year only, he has explained why we had to change from the Sundarji Doctrine to the Cold Start. He's explained in a full chapter. He has given out 3 reasons. One is the J&K thing. This happened in 89-90. When Sundarji Doctrine was designed, the Kashmir problem was not there. Now we are having a 1,000 cuts doctrine being executed from 89 onwards. Secondly, he said the nuclear problem. It happened in 98. This was not there when the Sundarji Doctrine was designed. And lastly, what I already mentioned, that the defensive line is not capable of just getting up and hitting. At the drop of a hat, we should be able to say, okay, go. But no, we have to wait for the strike corps to come. So this is the 3 reasons, as per General Vij, why we changed and went in for the cold start. And why the cold start has now been changed to a dynamic response military doctrine, because as you know, when the Bombay attack happened, cold start was in vogue, but we did not launch cold start. In fact, the Pakistanis are saying, we have defeated your cold start. Because even the cold start or whatever doctrine we were having, it envisages a large amount of military manpower, hardware, crossing the border in 8 to 10 places and capturing small amount of territory. And until we activate it in a full manner, we did not have any other option. Now we have other options. So that is why we have a dynamic response military doctrine. It has got a full range of options. And if you look at Joint Doctrine of the Armed Forces 2017, which has been published, it is post-Uri surgical strike. So surgical strikes had happened, and then we enunciated that surgical strikes will be part of our credible deterrence posture through punitive destruction and disruption in a nuclear environment. So we have started stating so, but we have not publicly declared it. In the process of writing my book, I've had a number of consultations, and I'm happy to say it is coming in my book, and I have the permission to quote that we are now with a new doctrine called the Dynamic Response Military Doctrine. And sitting here in this Lit Fest is the first time this has been announced. You've heard about the new normal. It is mentioned. I will talk about it a little bit. We have a firm control of the escalation matrix. This was mentioned yesterday by General Khandare that there is a concept of an escalation ladder. We know what are we going to do, what are the likely responses, and against each likely response, what is our counter? So we maintain dominance at all times, and most importantly, the conflict termination strategy. We have all that under control. We don't accept somebody else's defined threshold, that this is my red line. In fact, in the Pakistan's nuclear policy, we have a no first use policy, they don't. They say, if you cross our red lines, we will use the nuke. And they have articulated in a vague way what are their red lines. And one of them was if that the integrity of the nation is under threat, then we will use the nuke. So they could interpret it anyway. But we don't want to wait for their interpretation. Now we decide. And we are going to remain within the threshold, and we will be able to. And as I mentioned, I have discussed it with the military authorities. We had a number of meetings. While I cannot quote an individual person, but I have got the written permission to publish this in my book, so I can tell you it is public knowledge now. This video just exemplifies our new military doctrine. Volume, please. So this is Uri 2016 and the surgical strikes. The Air Force Balakot strike. And now 2025. Some of this was mentioned yesterday too. I will talk about this funeral. What do you... Thank you. Thank you. You are clapping for the armed forces, not for me. Thank you. Thank you, sir. As I mentioned, I will talk about this funeral. This is one of the biggest hits which we achieved on that night. On the very first night, 6th night, 7th morning, as was explained yesterday, we hit 9 terrorist camps, 9 terrorist facilities and their headquarters, Muridke and other places. We achieved a big success here. And if you see on 8th morning during the briefing, our Foreign Secretary, Vikram Mishri, he was holding a photograph to the international media. A state funeral is being given to these terrorists. Pakistani flag is put on those coffins. Senior officers from the police, the army, and the politicians are there to attend and to mourn the loss. Says, you may be doing this in your country, it doesn't make sense in our country to mourn the loss of a terrorist. So this is what this funeral is about, and this is the kind of proof, and as what General Khandar was mentioning, we have been able to gather a whole lot of proof to show that we succeeded in what we wanted to do. So just a couple of things more. So now we are into the dynamic response military doctrine, and as I was mentioning just now, it has been adopted. It has not been publicly announced. We don't need to. In fact, we don't have a publicly declared national security strategy. Some countries do. That is a debate about it. But we do have various ways which we handle our national security, and this is one of them. And I'm extremely fortunate that having personally met the CDS and personally met a number of officers from Air Force and Army, we have exchanged information with the Navy too as a part of our book. We have been given permission to publish this. What is it about? You heard it, decisive retaliation. If anything happens, we will hit back. We don't distinguish between the sponsors of terror and the terrorists themselves. This is a warning for the future. So far, whenever we had a terrorist issue, we would only strike back on the terrorist. Now we have announced that we will not distinguish. You are sponsoring terrorism, you are having terrorist camps, they have been announced, and everyone knows it. Next time, we will not distinguish. So please be aware. And the third is that we don't tolerate nuclear blackmail. While they have the capability, we have degraded certain part of it. We have hit their command and control centers. A lot has happened during Operation Sindoor. But we have not destroyed their nukes. But we are confident that we can carry out our operations despite being under the nuclear umbrella. And we have established that there is space between conventional war, nuclear war, and subconventional war. There is still space. Remember one thing, we are able to now execute military operations without declaration of war. Sindoor was not a war. Gaza may be a war, but what happened between Iran and Israel again was not a war. So the definitions of war is now changing, and we have adapted, we are ready, and we are capable of executing operations without even declaring war. There have been a number of criticisms. One of the criticisms is that when you have announced that whenever you are hit by terrorist strike, we will hit back. So you have bound yourself. This is a criticism. It is not a valid criticism. We are not going to launch operations at the drop of a hat. It is not going to be a knee-jerk reaction. It will be proportionate. It will be a decision taken at the time by the politico-military hierarchy, and the response will be done at a time and place of our choosing. It's not going to be a knee-jerk reaction, so there's, this criticism, I feel, is not founded. We have a controlled escalation system, I mentioned earlier, and most importantly, the termination of conflict. There are so many conflicts going around in the world, and some of them have been going on for long. You look at Ukraine, you look at Gaza, but you hear what our air chief says. The world has to learn from us how to swiftly start and swiftly terminate a conflict. And one of the first speakers was mentioning how to link the Coimbatore Lit Fest with a particular theme, and how does it all link to my book. As I landed in Coimbatore on Friday evening, the Chief of Army Staff signed the foreword. And it reached me on Saturday, while I was here. Sorry? Yeah, next. Surely. So this is the book, Red Lines Redrawn, Operation Sindoor, the India News Normal. There are 4 of us here. We are bringing out various analysis and dimensions and decoding the clutter. And we have, of course, a number of recommendations, which the Chief also has touched upon. He has commended us for our depth and vision. It's a timely contribution, he says, and it's an outstanding. This is from his foreword, a compelling narrative. It's coming soon to our book stands. Now, before I end, I would like to quote from Ramdhari Singh Dinkar, a poem, Shakti or Shama. This was also quoted incidentally by the CDS recently. Sahanshilta Shama Daya ko, Sahanshilta Shama Daya ko, तभी पूजता जग है, बल का दर्प चमकता जिसके पीछे जब जगमग है. I will just translate this. It says, tolerance, forgiveness, and clemency are respected by the world only when behind you is standing a strong sword of power. So that is the quote. बल का दर्प जमकता उसके पीछे जब जगमग है. So this is the last stanza of a very interesting poem. It is not only that the armed forces are the power. All of you are the power of the nation. The people who are working in commerce, who are teaching, who are writing, who are doing any form of activity, the power of the nation. The comprehensive power of the nation has to be strong. Only then we can achieve peace. With that, I would like to end my discourse, and I'm open to questions.
Hello,
Yes,
check,
sir.
check. Yeah, very good morning, Major General. And we had a very inspiring session with you and an eye-opener. See, my question is, see, now that after all these operations last 1.5 decades or so, see, we have strengthened, say, our Pakistan border with Gujarat, Rajasthan, Punjab, etc. But I started feeling that, see, there could be a sitting duck in the northeast sector, see, from the Bangladesh, where, see, there has been a lot of intrusion happening, especially last 4-5 years. So using that, see, could there be a, see, major attack, see, by the enemy, say, from the territory? See, can you
Yes,
see, throw
northeast-
some light on that?
Northeast and
Thank
East,
you.
It is very much a threat. Recently, there is a lot to which I can cover. It is there in the book also. Mr. Munir went to Tampa, and he has given a speech there in a closed-door session with about 100-150 Pakistani diaspora, but there were people who took the word out. It has been published in media. He made two statements there, Mr. Munir. One is, he said, remember, we are a nuclear nation. If we go down, we will take half the world with us. This statement has been made by Field Marshal Munir in Tampa on American soil. And it came in Indian media, many media. How can you go and say this? Second thing he said was, next time we will start from the east. Exactly what you're saying. I correlated this to a statement by his DG ISPR, wherein he said the same thing, that we will strike in the east. India also needs to know that we can strike anywhere. So obviously, when he is so strongly checkmated on the Indo-Pakistan western border, he will look for other places. I will not say Northeast is vulnerable. We have strong forces there. We have air defense. In fact, as I was mentioning about my father, at a point of time, he was commanding a radar station which was looking from Calcutta towards Bangladesh. And once or twice, I would go and see the kind of coverage we have. So we have good coverage. It's not that it's not going to be a cakewalk for anybody. But yes, I understand your concern. And don't worry, the apex people are looking at it very closely, sir. We'll come to AVM Kumar after this. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Who are our other enemies, sir? Like when you say that somebody from Pakistan going and making statement in Tampa, and now we see a new strategy of terrorism which is cropping up, especially destabilizing the country by a provocation of the so-called Gen X. And
Yes.
what's exactly, now why I'm telling, we know, sir, there are certain known enemies. The known enemies are
many
known
unknown
enemies. I think we seem to be having a lot of shadow
Surely, sir.
boxing
Surely, sir.
areas.
I think what you are asking is already answered yesterday by Jan Khandare in his talk, but I will again repeat. And there is a session immediately after lunch where I think Shefali Madam and Mrs. Sengupta and one or two others are talking about this, the power of social media to have aggressive, what is it, outrage. To create an outrage, look at fault lines and, create instability. So, incidentally, my PhD is in information warfare. So, these are issues which are there, and I have covered them in the book too. As General Khandare mentioned, Pakistan, we know for long. China, at a point of time, when we were young, 1954, Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai, they are our neighbor, they are a big neighbor. Whether we have, how we deal with them, whether they are friends, they are frenemies, they are contestation, conflict, but they are there to stay. So these two we know. We have the half channel inside 2.5. We have the distant foes, Turkey, who was supposed to be our friend. We sent them a parafield ambulance when they had an earthquake. The Indian military went there and they earned so much of goodwill. We helped them when they had an earthquake. And here they were supplying drones to Pakistan which were being targeted onto us. Incidentally, since I was just Turkey has said that no, we didn't do anything. So, you don't have to trust whatever you hear without research. So, in my book, I have not targeted Turkey at all. But there is no direct evidence. So, your basic question was multiple enemies. Looking at USA, as you know, they say, when you're looking at USA, it is very dangerous to have USA as an enemy, but to have USA as a friend is fatal. This is a famous statement. So, but the point is, it is not about USA or India, Pakistan. Every country will look at its own interest. And the concept of strategic autonomy, I can tell you about 2 years back, there was a strong pressure from international forum, including USA, that why is India not aligning with the USA? What is this strategic autonomy? You have our transport aircraft, you got our Chinooks, we have so many agreements, we are in the Quad together. Why don't you just come onto the bandwagon? And we kept on resisting. And today, people like you are saying, yes, why are we, so close to USA? So the question is, no permanent friends, no permanent enemies. What was mentioned yesterday, and I think we have time, right? I finished very early. You have to understand the difference between a strategic partnership and an alliance. These are loosely used terms. People think, oh, we've had so much of good relations. Mr. Modi has gone and addressed the joint houses of USA. He's had a joint session with the upper and lower house together in one place, and he addressed the joint session. It was a huge thing. But they are not our ally. If you have an alliance like what NATO is, like Warsaw Pact was, it means they will fight your battle and you will fight their battle. Which means if China takes Taiwan, Indian troops will be fighting in Taiwan against China. If we send our forces to Taiwan to fight against China, what is going to happen to our borders? How can we fight China on behalf of USA, leaving our border undefended? So there is a lot of difference between partnerships and alliances. We have strategic partnerships, we have issue-based cooperation, that's all fine. Ultimately, it is each man for himself. In fact, in my book, what the ambassador has written at the end of a beautiful analysis, he said, Akla chalo re. Some people are Bengali here, I think will understand. Akla chalo re. You can't rely on anyone. Just a minute, yeah.
Good morning, General. Before I ask you the question, I would like to congratulate General Khandare yesterday. I heard your speech in full, an excellent presentation, but I had to leave after your talk because there was a wedding reception at 7 o'clock I had to reach. So thank you. As an Air Force officer, I am very proud to see a fantastic presentation given by you yesterday. That too, it was extempo. Coming to General today, you gave a fantastic presentation again, but I thought one thing which has happened in the last maybe a decade plus is the emphasis on jointmanship among the three services and the theatre command concept which has come up. This you are not mentioned because this is also something which has happened, which has changed the entire method in which we are waging war. So, your words.
So, while you have said it has happened, it is a process. It has not yet happened. It is in the process. Now, recently this question was asked in the Manekshaw Center, in the Republic TV event, to Air Marshal Bhaduria, ex-Army Chief, and Manoj Pandey, Bhaduria ex-Air Chief and Manoj Pandey, ex-Army Chief, were both on the panel, and they were asked a similar question. Ultimately, both of them said, look, the logic of setting up theatre commands is unshakable. It has to come. How it comes and when it comes was not, ultimately finalized. But the first part, what you started with, jointmanship, jointness, integration, that has made a very big, much progress in the last few years, especially since the establishment of the CDS. The very fact that you have a CDS today, Sir has worked in DIA, I have worked in Defense Intelligence, and at a point of time, there was a naval officer, a very senior person, who said, we were having headquarter IDS for good about 15 years before we got a CDS. So you have the three services and you have headquarter IDS, Integrated Defense Staff. It was headed by a 3-star, not by a 4-star, for 15 years or a little less than 15 years. And we worked in that. The problem was that since you did not have a CDS, a headmaster, as quoted, the other three services would always look at us as just one more headquarter. So the naval officer in a conference said, Sir, ye abhi band karo, ye nahi chalega, ek headmaster chahiye. we need the CDS, and the CDS has come. Now things are moving in a much better direction. During Operation Sindoor, as you're aware, all three services put in together. As written in my book, sir, the first night, there were 9 targets. You are all aware that on 6th night we hit 9 targets. Can anyone, especially the children, tell me, out of those 9 targets, how many were hit by Army, how many by Air Force, and was the Navy involved? Anyone? Any child? 9 targets on the first night, we hit 9 terrorist camps. Take a guess.
The Air Force hit 7.
And Army hit 2. Yes, you're right. But your figures are slightly ulta. Army hit 7. Air Force hit 2. Navy was on standby. This is known. What is not known is, among the 7 which Army hit, Navy was used in 2 of them. Jointmanship, sir. It is not that the Army was unable to hit those particular 2. We were looking at a range which was slightly more than what we had hit before, and we did not want to bring the Air Force in at a place which is so close to the border. And then the Navy said, look, we have something, can we try it? So we did a trial, and we found it a very good option. So the Navy gave us something, and we used it in 2 targets in parallel with the Army. And I can quote in the conversation when I asked the CDS, sir, did it hit? He says, both hit. So we also hit, and the Navy also hit in those 2 targets. Balance, 5 targets were purely Army, 2 were mix of Army and Navy, and 2 were pure Air Force. So that is jointmanship, sir.
Sir.
Yes, please.
So one question, sir. Sir, after 2014, sir, after our Prime Minister took charge, what difference has it made to the defense, sir? Sir, we wanted you to highlight that very emphatically, sir.
Okay, next is it right here, but wait. If you put the camera off, then I will speak. But I can tell you, things have started moving in a much faster manner, much better manner, and we feel happy. And as what General Khandare said, and if you look, very recently, General Ghai, the Director General Military Operations, who came and announced that I got a call for the ceasefire, not a ceasefire, a cessation of hostilities. As he mentioned that this is what we donned uniform for. We are so happy to be part of it. So, yeah, things are going very good. Yeah, there's a child raising his hand somewhere there first. Yeah, black shirt. Okay, sir, Panditji.
Let him pass.
Okay, let him go. Give him a mic, please. You start speaking, yeah.
We are from the CAR school. We are honored to hear you speak. I had a question. After the Gen Z revolution in Nepal, the new Prime Minister installed has repeatedly emphasized her willingness to have good relationships with India. While the reasons that she gave was she studied in the Banaras Hindu University and she got to know the facilities over there and she was very happy with the Indian people. But also, one more fact was that her husband was one of the perpetrators involved in the hijacking of an Indian plane which landed in, in the end landed in Nepal. And the friends of her husband, his colleagues, some of them even ended up getting jail time from the Indian government. So I would just like to ask, what are your views on the future relations of Nepal and India?
I haven't looked at Nepal so closely, but we are brothers. We have so many Gorkhas from them in our army. They are free to work in India. Their entire citizens are free to work in India and they can join the Indian army without any NOC from anyone. So I'm sure the relationship with Nepal will remain good. I'm not very clear on this particular aspect which you touched upon.
Thank you, sir.
Sirji.
General Bakshi, namaste. Congratulations for forthcoming book, Operation Sindoor and India New Normal. And I have one request. If you can, from India, if you can put Bharat, it will be much better. That is my request. Second thing, my question and attention is that in 1913, Bipin Chandrapal wrote a big article, Politics and an Empire, which was published in 1916 book. He told and warned us, our real threat will not come from Europe and America. Our real threat will come from the China. I quote, the 400 million Chinese are the only people under the sun who can hold us down by sheer superior physical force. 1913. And then he told and this China will align with Pan-Islamism, In 1913, that time there was no China, no Marxist China, and there was no Pakistan, and even all those what you have seen. But we as a country, we ignored that warning, 1913. And what is our preparedness in terms, for us as a country, China and Pakistan, Bangladesh should not be our challenger. Our main challenger is China. How we are positioning ourselves, our security in context of China.
Thank you, sir. You brought a historical context. As was mentioned yesterday, I think, about the 62 war General Khandare was mentioning. Please do not take 1962 as any template. The Indian Air Force combat power was not used in 62. Our forces were deployed in areas at very short notice without equipment. I can tell you, sir, when our people had been deployed in high altitude at 17,000 feet, dal nahi galti hai. Your dal does not cook without pressure cookers. And our men fought there without pressure cookers because there was no pressure cookers in the Indian army at that time. Because we had not prepared ourselves for high altitude war. We went in jungle boots into snow terrain. So 1962 is not at all a template. Today's army is far, far, far superior to what kind of performance we had there. And as was mentioned yesterday, 62 was a bad example. Next time around, sir, they will face a very, very different Indian army and Indian military. But we are not resting on any laurels of our experiences. We are being prepared day by day. I have myself served, sir, for about 14 years in the mountains. I have made roads and bunkers as far as Bumla. In fact, since you mentioned China, as you're aware, they came into Tawang and they made a road. Within about 30 days, they made a road from the Tibetan plateau up to Tawang. 1962, when the battle ended, they withdrew. You're aware? Whatever they captured, they relinquished and they went back. We permitted that road to collapse, sir. The road from Bumla, which today is a beautiful border hut, the road coming in from Bumla, for the last 5 kilometers, we allowed it to collapse. In 1988, I was ordered to reopen that road. The first Indian dozer gone to Bumla, I sat on it and I went and I reopened that road, sir. And guess what? Why did we not make the roads to the border from 62 to 87? Again, the question which is linked to what somebody else said. There was a fear, if we build roads to the China border, the Chinese will come down and attack on that and they will capture India. So we have to fight on the border with last 5 to 8 to 10 kilometers walking or with our supplies coming on mules. In any case, we would walk. It was a standard thing that when you induct to the border, you have to walk. The last 2 days is walking. And we didn't make the road. So 1988, I reopened that road. Plus, I made 8 kilometers new road in that sector. And now we are much better poised. Thanks. Sorry, please.
Statement about that, I remember in the parliament.
You remember? Yes.
Yeah, to answer the gentleman who asked the question, what changed after 2014? General Bakshi, I don't think it's okay for him to answer, but I will answer, and you can broadcast it. Okay, I was in defense manufacturing. You need not know what. I don't want to tell you. But it's a very large defense manufacturing facility which supplied critical parts for missiles which took part in Operation Sindoor. Okay? If you know what it is, you know what it is. I was in development from 2008 to 2014. Okay, we supplied, let's say, X quantity only between 2008, 9 and 14. From 2014 December to 2023, we supplied something like 120 times. Okay? 120 times. That's what we supplied. So does that answer your question? That's what changed.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry.
There's one more question. We'll just take one last question. Yes.
Good morning, sir. I'm Krishnan, retired seafarer. Today there's a concept of my enemy's enemy is my friend. It's going about all over. What's our stand?
My enemy's enemy is my friend. This is the oldest teaching of Kautilya from the Rajamandala. Vijigisu, Shatru, Arishatru. It's a very old concept, but we don't necessarily see it very closely being followed today. In fact, what was being mentioned yesterday's topics was that Arthashastra has been studied even in China, and they are studying Arthashastra as well as Sun Tzu. Incidentally, Arthashastra is also studied in Pakistan in their staff college. So these are common things. I mean, are you hinting at something very specific? Well, I would not say that the enemy's enemy concept applies to Afghanistan. Afghanistan has always been our friend. In fact, I can quote that I was doing a defense intelligence course in London, and I was speaking to an Afghan, and he says, we are very good friends with India. We just don't want this little piece of territory in between. This should be removed. Yeah, there's one child who wants to ask. I think we can permit him. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. In the UNGA in September, Dr. Jayashankar mentioned that regarding Afghanistan, Pakistan, China, that if we have to, we can fight all three at once. Like, not completely, indirectly he stated that when he was questioned about how can India be so firm that no matter what challenges they face, they can react properly. So is it possible that instead of fighting all of the three countries is it possible to fight all the three countries at once with the forces we have today? And if so, then how can the citizens also contribute?
Very interesting. So I am happy to see so much of consciousness in the children. You are listening to the senior, the senior functionaries. You are looking at the geopolitical situation. So what you are talking about, we call it Sino-Pak collusion. China and Pakistan colluding to fight against us. In a Sino-Pak collusivity scenario, we are looking at two fronts together, and that's what General Khandare also mentioned yesterday. At the same time, they will be trying to incite unrest within India. So that is the half front. So 2.5 front, we have been preparing for this for the past 10 years. So yes, we are looking at it closely, but now I will give you my personal view, not the army view, not the think tank's view. Incidentally, for 3 years, I was in a military think tank called Manohar Parrikar Institute for Defense Studies and Analysis. I was the Deputy Director General heading the military center. So even that, I will say, put it aside, my personal view, China will never take assistance of Pakistan in a India-China conflict. I'll say again, China will not look for the assistance of Pakistan in a India-China conflict. If it comes to China, we will be able to hold off Pakistan and tackle China alone. If it is a Pakistan conflict, yes, there will be some indirect assistance from China, which we saw in Sindoor. Their missiles and their satellite equipment was being guided, so indirect assistance. Why? In history later, would China like to say that to deal with India, China needed Pakistan's help? Would they ever like to say that? It will be a biggest shame for them that if China needs Pakistan in a India-China conflict. So that will not happen in my opinion. So primarily, we are preparing for one front at a time. If push comes to shove, we can handle both fronts together. More important, the last part what you asked is the half front, we need your help. You are our eyes and ears. You need to be cautious. You need to report things. Be our eyes and ears and try and tackle that half front. And support us. And support the soldier. And as was being mentioned, when we are on the borders, we have been, I have walked in places which are -30, -40. I have walked through artillery fire. I have walked through machine gun fire. The person walking just in front of me got shot through his ribs. We had to spend the whole night to pull him out, put him in a chopper in the morning, and happily he was saved. I have walked through all this thinking that people like you are there behind me. So just give us the support and trust us. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so very much, sir. We request Air Vice Marshal Vijay Kumar sir and General Kandare to please felicitate General Bakshi. We also request you to please add on to General Bakshi's words with your thoughts and reflections.